All right, we're joined now by the winner of today's Camping World RV Sales 301, driver of the number 2 Reds Ford, Brad Keselowski. This is Brad's third victory of the 2014 season and his first here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Brad, tell us about your race today.
Well, that was quick. Usually Kerry stays there for a few seconds.
Get to the point.
You're on it. Where do I start? The team was just really on it today. We really feels like we hit our stride, and I'm kind of quiet and somber because I want to soak it all in. I don't want this moment to go away so quick. It seems like when you get in victory lane and you're rushed around left and right, you don't really get a chance to soak it in. And this was such a phenomenal weekend. And these don't happen that often, and that's what makes it special. And you try to appreciate them and enjoy them, and hope that there's more, but not count on it. Because these are big deals, winning races at the Sprint Cup level, sweeping a weekend, and it's all possible because of the hard work and effort from everyone at Team Penske. I can drive the heck out of the car, but you can only do so much. You got to have a good horse. And we had that today, so I'm just really, really thankful and happy with the form we're at.
We're also joined by crew chief of the number 2, Mr. Paul Wolf. Paul, can you talk a little bit about your strategy for today's race?
Yeah, well, it was definitely a tough call for us all day. When you have cars like we did today, it's almost like your competition's always going to do the opposite of what you do, and that kind of happened the first stop when we went with 4 and everyone did 2, and really not sure how that was going to all work out and unfold, but I think it was within 10 laps we were back in the lead. So from that point, I felt pretty good about the strength of our car and what Brad was able to do moving through traffic. I think from that point on, it kind of seemed to make it a little easier to make decisions when we come down pit road, and we kind of had a plan before the race of what we felt like we wanted to do tire-wise, and we stuck with it today. I guess it probably could have went up either way with as good as our car was, but we stuck with our plan, and it worked out.
Finally, we're joined by the owner of the number 2, Mr. Roger Penske. Sir, this is Ford's 4th consecutive win, their longest streak since 2001. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Well, great. It's certainly, I want to thank Brad and Paul for just an outstanding weekend. I missed Kentucky and didn't get a chance to see the dominant Ford Fusion during that race. But for the weekend, certainly Saturday, yesterday, and the nationwide for Ford, and again today, we made the move when Dodge decided to exit the sport, and came with Ford, and they've been nothing but supportive, from an engineering standpoint, and the whole management team, Mark Fields, all the way down, is just really behind this program, and that makes a big difference. They want us to win. They want to give us what we need to win. And I'd have to say that you couldn't ask for a better weekend. Ironically, I've already gotten 4 or 5 emails from the top people at Ford. They're watching it every day. Their dealers are watching it, and to me that makes a difference. So we're excited. And Paul, great calls today. Watching Brad today, and I get to see it from up on top. I've never seen a car, but at the end of the day, you can have a great car if you don't have the best driver. And I can tell you today, there was nobody out there that could beat him. And it was just a great execution for everybody.
Thank you. We'll now take questions. If you'll raise your hand, we'll get a wireless microphone to you. Right here.
Rob Tiongson of thepodiumfinish.com. This first question's for Red Keselowski. When you have a good car like you do today, even if you lose track position, how awesome was it to know that even if you went from 1st to 6th, that you could pass those guys who took 2 tires?
Well, I knew we had a great car. Is it Rob?
Yeah.
I knew we had a great car, Rob, and it was just you don't take it for granted. I think someone else asked me the same question. When you kept falling back in the pack, did you think it was going to be easy pickings to get up there? No, I didn't. I knew it was going to be tough, and it seemed like each and every time it kept getting a little harder. Guys keep working on their cars and getting a little bit better, and from our perspective, our car was so fast you hate to do anything to it because something could happen. So that was kind of how I was feeling about it, but thankfully we were able to get back up there and make the most of it.
Absolutely. And the second follow-up question is, after the struggles you guys had last year when you didn't get your first win until Charlotte in the fall, How gratifying is this season so far, knowing you got 3 wins and right now you're sitting atop the points lead in the chase grid?
Yeah, it's gratifying in a lot of ways. I don't think it's just that we have 3 wins. I think it's that we're leading laps. I think we were fast last year at this time, but we weren't executing. And this year we're executing, which is really important as well. And we have a lot of momentum, and I think we have a lot of potential still left in our team that we got to keep working to get to, because everybody's going to turn it up a notch when the chase comes, and we know that. And we need to have another gear to grab to be able to run for a championship here in 2014. And I think we're close, but I want to keep pushing. And I'm committed to getting another championship. I know Roger and Paul sitting next to me are committed to it, and we want to make it happen. So it's a good feeling for sure.
We'll go Nate and Dan.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. I have 2. Brad, first of all, following up on that, you've talked a lot recently about how you feel like the team is back in 2012 form. And given Hendrick's struggles today and the way you guys performed, does it feel a little bit like it's starting to be like 2 years ago again where you guys were that strong?
Well, I think in a lot of ways we're stronger than that. I don't think we've had this much speed before, and we had tremendous speed today. And I think there's potential left, like I said, with different things. So that's all very encouraging to me. I feel like I'm in a really strong rhythm right now. I think some of last year's struggles put me in a spot to work harder and become a better race car driver. And I think we're combining all those things, and we're seeing the fruits of that labor with, like I said, more to come.
And secondly, for you and Paul, usually when we monitor team radios, we hear teams talking about taking 2 tires or 4 tires. You guys apparently take Jack or MGD or Miller Lite or Red. I was wondering if you could edify those of us who don't have number 2 decoder rings on what you guys are doing on those stops and why you might be doing it.
We would, but Roger'd have to kill you. So he likes to run fast, and it's just part of the game. We don't want to get caught behind, and when you're fast, everybody's trying to beat you, and they want to know what you're doing. So we don't want them to know that.
How many of those do you have?
Enough.
A 6-pack.
Hey, that was good.
Go ahead, Dan.
Dan Gelson, the Associated Press. Brad, for those of us who didn't get out there, was your victory celebration as flawless as your race today? And
yeah, I don't have any new cuts, so that's good. Apparently I got to win more, and I'll get better at it. So it's part of the experience.
did you handle the lobster? Were you a little worried?
We did. I think everybody got to hold the lobster, and we're looking forward to eating the lobster this week. So I hear they're going to overnight the meat. So.
All right, we're going to go up to the press box, then we'll come back to Dustin.
Louis Frank Reuters. Brad, don't worry, it's an easy question. You deserve a weekend off, but after a dominating weekend like this, does it take anything away as you head into the Brickyard?
I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at that, Louis. That's a kind of a glass empty or half full, or however you want to take that type of question. I think in racing, taking the positive outlook on it, we're on the go so much that when you do have some success, maybe with the exception of the championship, you really don't get any time to enjoy it. 3-4 days later, you're back to the next track. And in between that, you're really doing media and other commitments. So for me personally, I know for the team, to have a couple of days, I think about 8 days to really soak it in before we head off to Indy. I think that's a real pleasure for us and something that we can enjoy. And then obviously a little bit of rest is never a bad thing. We've been hitting it pretty hard as well. So I think that's kind of the glass half full outlook. At least that's how I look at it.
Dustin.
Strategy, whatever it might have been. So testing just increases your probability, but it's never a guarantee. But going back, I would have definitely wanted to have that test. I wouldn't have turned it down. And so, in that respect, who knows? Maybe they'll come here in September and clean house, with what they've learned. So I don't think it's fair to really evaluate that off of just today. I think in a broader picture that those things work themselves out.
We have one more in the press box.
Brad, Michael Vega, Boston Globe. Was the four-tire pit strategy born from any concerns you had about the track and its conditions at the end of the nationwide race? And two, when you went to two tires, it seems like you were really on it and made up a huge gain on that, even the first corner going from 9th to 5th, I think, on the restart. Can you talk a little bit about that juncture of the race when you felt like there was a sense of urgency kind of coursing through everybody?
Well, as the races come towards the end, there's always a sense of urgency, but I think Loudon has seen kind of an increase in that. There's always different strategies, no tires, two tires, four tires. We saw Kyle Larson in one run and didn't take any tires, and we had four. And, heck, it took us 10, 15 laps just to get to him, trying to clear through the dirty air and traffic that is part of the struggles here at Loudon. But I think that's part of why the racing is so good here, and I think looking at it, you saw the restarts 2, 3 wide. I think I was 4 wide at one time with someone. I think that's really fun to do, and I hope it's fun to watch because it sure is from my seat. But I think that's part of the fun, and our strategy was obviously not the same as everyone else, but it worked out, and I'm not really looking back.
Go back here and then Kenny.
Brad, Kyle Magda, Speedway Digest. Did your car handle different on the 2 tires or 4 tires?
The cars always handle a little bit worse when they don't have new tires. Loudon has a lot of tire wear, and 4 tires were definitely a pretty good handling advantage.
And I have a follow-up. You ran the Red Zappa car today, and you dominated and you won, and you also dominated Pocono and you almost won. I mean, are you going to run the Red Zappa car more often?
Yeah, you should talk to their marketing guy. It's been good for us so far. I kind of feel like I let Pocono get away, so in that sense, let's keep running. Maybe we'll save it for the chase.
Kenny?
Yeah, Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Roger, you've been in the sport a long time. You had a guy out there running second today that was involved in an accident with somebody that's, some people say, doesn't need to be out there because of his age. When that incident occurred, what was going through your mind?
Well, Morgan's a good friend of everybody in the garage area. He's a good friend of mine. We've tried to support him. Obviously, he was not doing anything out there that he expected to do, have someone in an accident with him. So, I told Joey, look, you can't go back and fix it. Obviously he saw when Brad came up to him later in the race, he slowed down to get everybody by him. So, look, that's just, we're in the race. I mean, he's a guy, and that's the great thing about the sport, that if you want to tee it up here and bring your car and have a team, we let him run. So I don't feel bad about it other than the fact that Joey got knocked out. I think we had a, real good car there. He was running second at that time. And obviously at that point you say, damn, but at the end of the day, it's, we got to move on.
Right here. PR. Yep.
Steve Richards of PRN. My question's for Roger. Congratulations, first of all. Kentucky, you were very confident in your race car. You predicted that Brad would win the race. Were you that confident this weekend?
I'm not sure when I said he was going to win the race. I never do that, so I'm not sure when we were talking about that. Look, I knew that, I watched him yesterday. I think the fact that he takes the time and effort to run on Saturday, I think that gets him in a rhythm. It's proven that way time and time again, he and Joey, and obviously with Ryan Blaney. But, he said he had a good car, but we've had good cars before, we thought. We got in the race and we didn't execute. But today, I think the 4 tire stops were the right way to go. We were really, on the cautious side rather than trying to hang it out, as Paul said. We did one thing, they did something different. But I would say when you look at the restarts today and look where that 2 car was and what they did in the first 2 or 3 laps, that just shows you how strong the car was and how good the driver was.
We'll go Jim, then Dan. Right back there.
Jim Under, Charlotte Observer for Brad. Just messing with you. In the back.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. A couple times this weekend and recently, you've kind of gone out of your way to say how much you appreciate the opportunity you've had, the team that you're with, the cars that you get to drive. I just wondered, is that a conscious fact? Are you kind of going out of your way to try to make sure maybe you didn't appreciate it along the way or recognize it the last time, or is it just the way you feel about this team this season?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that one. Racing is a bit of a roller coaster and up and down. And we've been on the high end a lot. Certainly we are this year. And we haven't been on the low end, but we've been very close to having a lot of wins this year that just didn't come together. And it's enough to make you look around and just say, or think, what am I doing wrong, and where are we at? And then you think about that stuff and realize that sometimes that's just the breaks. Sometimes that's just how the sport works. So I think in that regard, it makes you certainly appreciate when things do come together. I think I'm probably in a better place personally than I've ever been. Which is a reflection of that and why I, enjoy it so much more. And it means more to me. So I think there's a lot of things there. I'm not really sure that it's fair for me to sum it up at this point. Sometimes when you're inside the fire, you don't know how to tell the smoke from the trees, right? But, probably when I have a chance to look back on it, years from now, I'll look at it and say what a great time this has been, and that's kind of what I'm thinking right now.
Dan Gelson, the Associated Press. For Roger, why did the owners feel this was the right time to form an RTA, and what do you hope to get out of it?
Well, as I said earlier today, someone asked me about the RTA, and what I said, really, it's very simple. I support it 100%, and Rob Coughlin is really what he said, I think, communicates the message for all the owners.
But why now? Was there something that triggered it?
Really, Rob has made the comments in reference to RT. I don't really have any other comments.
What about you, Brad? What do you think about it?
Go ahead. Pat Tickle at NASCAR.com for Brad. A month ago at Michigan, you mentioned that Hendrick was probably about a season ahead of everybody in terms of engine power and everything. And I mentioned that to Jeff Gordon after the race today, and he kind of laughed it off and said that you were full of crap. Has your stance changed in that at all, given your recent success?
I don't know. He was pretty hard to pass off the corner, I can tell you that. We certainly had our handling right today, and I would still say that we have some work to do to keep up with them in that department. Today, the engine was important, but not to the extreme of what we've seen at Michigan, Kansas, and those type of racetracks. So I think in that regard, we were able to overcome that.
Okay, Rob.
Rob Lapp from PopularSpeed.com. Brad, yesterday you said that yesterday's race was one of the harder races that you've ever had to run. How difficult was today's race, given that you had to keep coming through the field and with the premium placed on track position?
Yeah, I mean, this might only be a 301-lap race, but it felt like a 1,000-lap race. Every yellow kept coming with, I think, 40 laps on tires, which put the field in a position to take 2, to take none, to take 4. And no matter what call we made, it was going to be a struggle, and that's always frustrating. Because there was no right or wrong call, I guess, and that's really tough on Paul. And then the yellow comes out while we're leading the race and dominating with 2 to go. You're like, geez, can I just catch a break? And that stuff wears on you mentally. And yeah, it did feel like a very long race, but when you get in victory lane and all that stuff starts to wear off and you can soak in what's going on and you're able to close it out, it is what it is, and you get through it.
Okay, right here.
Hi, Brad. I'm Terrell Covey. I'm with the Portsmouth Herald. I've heard a lot this weekend about how tough it is to pass here. You made passing and pretty much everything else look easy today. But for you and Paul, really, how important was it to not just beat those other 42 drivers, but kind of beat the track and have it figured out there? And how can you carry that into the chase?
Yeah. Well, it's always tough. We've come up here now for a few years, and we've had good race cars, and been able to get top 5 finishes and not get that win. And I think, like you said, the difference this weekend was we didn't need track position to get a good finish out of it. As we shown when we lined up 8th, 9th, 10th, it really didn't matter. We were able to pass cars, and that obviously was key to our success. But it's just a lot of things have changed this year. It's a whole new package with these cars, and trying to understand that and continue to develop that. Obviously it's great. We didn't have to use a test, and we're able to come here and have the success we did. But I feel like by the time we come back here in the chase, that we'll have developed and learned so much more about these new rules that probably the setup we ran today won't be as successful as it was today, in September. So with that being said, we need to keep doing what we've done this year, and that's not only work hard but smart. Everyone in this garage works hard. That's what it takes to compete at this level, but you have to work smart too, and right now all the guys at Team Penske have been doing a great job at that, and we're going to keep pushing and keep the pressure on everyone to finish through the summer here.
We'll go here, and then Dustin.
This one's for Roger. Roger, Kyle Magda, Speedway Digest. The end of the 2012 season, you changed manufacturers. How have you felt of your Cup team's performance since the switch?
Well, I think that, obviously, with Dodge, we had great success in 2012. We had been working with that car and that manufacturer for probably a dozen years, if I go back many years. So the switch was obviously new. We had to understand the aerodynamics, the new package. Obviously, putting together an engine program with Roush Yates where we were not the ones that made the calls every day was important to us. But I'd have to say that from the top to bottom at management at the Ford Motor Company, Edsel Ford, obviously, great friend of mine, and was very instrumental in getting us to come over to Ford, and just Mark Fields, now the new CEO, and Alan Mullally, all these guys put their hands out and said, look, we love you to join the Ford camp, which we've done. And I'd have to say that it's been a great move. Obviously you've got with Toyota and Chevrolet, we know those people. They're great competitors. But to me, I think we're in the right place. We have a team that is working together. I think is very transparent with Ford, what we're doing. And at the end of the day, I'd have to say it was the right move.
Thank you. Dustin?
Paul, this is maybe overly simplistic, but when you have a car as strong as it is today, how easy or difficult is it to basically just call for 4 tires a lot of times? I know speed, when you have speed, you can dictate things, and that kind of puts you in maybe a safer zone as opposed to the gambling. So how much of a calculated gambling was this, or was this in essence an easy day on the box because of that?
I think that's a good question, and it's tough making those calls every weekend. And like I said, after the first stop when we were on 4 and guys were on 2, and we're able to see the strength we had. I don't know that it's ever easy, but it does ease your mind a little bit when you get buried back in the field, knowing that as good a car as we had, that if we could stay out of trouble and have a clean couple laps, we would eventually be able to work our way back to the front. And so I guess from that point, definitely makes it a little easier to know that we're on a different strategy than the guys are racing. But at that point, when you're in situations like this, the guys around you are going to a lot of times do a different strategy than you do, just because that's their only hope of beating you when you have a car like we did and a performance like we did today.
Gentlemen, congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.